we'll be having a discussion on politics and mental wellness. This is a topic that you can still weigh in your comments. If you have questions, feel free to share via our SMS number, that is 0111 220044. My name is Aida Munzati, and we are getting straight into the discussion or this morning's conversation, that is a politics and mental wellness. So my guest today is on the far right is Josephine Rope, who is a counseling psychologist, and at the center or in the middle is Professor Catherine Gashuda, who is also a counseling psychologist and one of the counselors under the President's Assumption of Office Committee. Ladies, you're welcome, and we definitely look forward to learning from you as far as our politics and mental wellness is concerned.
Thank you.
All right, now just to start with you, Prof, when we are looking at our politics and mental wellness, what are your general thoughts about this topic?
Right, politics has a lot to do with us as a people, because when people are talking politics, or when we are having political events like what we've been having, the elections within the country, there is how people get affected. We know politics have a way of charting the way forward in regard to many things for people, whether it's about economy and finances, whether it's about family life and how it gets affected by politics, or even individuals, whether it's about education. There are so many things, or everything about people is affected by politics, and therefore our people are very much alert. And like in Kenya, we are always politicking. If you go to other countries, like the Eastern countries, they do not talk about politics from morning to evening. We do talk about politics from morning to evening, but again, we know the centrality of politics in shaping people's lives and institutions' lives, and therefore it is important that we think about politics, but again, how politics affects the mental health of our own people.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, Prof has just mentioned of our politics now affecting the mental health of people. How would you say people are affected mentally by politics, Josephine?
Okay. Politics and mental health is a very big topic. So mental health basically is how one acts, how one thinks, and how one behaves. So when it comes to mental health, you have to check how one is behaving, how one is feeling. Politics is a public affair. So before one decides to get into it, they have to ask themselves, are they ready? What is the cost of politics? If I am a family person, if I am a father, if I am a husband, what is it going to implicate on my family directly? Am I going to sit down? Am I going to include my family? Am I going to tell them that I'm joining politics? Of course, in terms of finances, as Prof has said, it's going to be a shift. In politics also, people have to go to campaign mainly. So this means that you're going to give yourself. You have to set aside time and go and campaign. This means you have to involve masses. You have to be creative. You have to know how to win. You know how to talk. So in terms of politics and mental health, it affects how one will think, feel, behave in terms of a person. You know, even before politics, before one is called a politician, they are a person. You know, yes. For them to want that leadership position, they have to first understand that they are a person. They have to look at the bigger picture. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Now to you, Prof, Josephine has just mentioned a few on how probably politicians are supposed to be prepared before even getting into politics. How else would you say politicians should prepare, and not just politicians, but we citizens as well, because we also participate in politics, let me say directly?
Right. Politics is a process, and for the ones that want to be candidates, they need to prepare at a personal level. That sense of readiness is very cardinal to one succeeding at the end of it all. But at the same time, this is a person who is coming from a family, and it is important that you talk with a wife so that you can agree this is the money that we are going to set aside so that our campaign is going to be facilitated. But at the same time, because the children are going to be affected too, you need to involve the children in helping them to see this is going to be a journey, and it can be a very nasty journey. How do you shield yourself from the impact of things that can be said about me, who is your mom or who is your father? Because I wouldn't want you to be injured. I wouldn't want you to carry my shame if things are going to be said, because the political propaganda sometimes can border lies, and therefore when lies are said about people, the family members are going to suffer. Whether it's the entire family or even in the neighborhood, you're going to be asking, is what has been said about so and so true? So having that meeting where you are looking into how the process is going to be like in terms of time that is going to be discharged into it, and who is going to be involved in the family to support the whole process, and the finances that are going to go into it, the whole works has to be discussed so that when someone is being supported by family, then they are not being supported in a way where family members are feeling they are getting pulled into it without them consenting to it. They will feel that we have chosen to join into this process, and we would want our family member, whether that is dad or mom or a brother or sister or whoever it is, so that they can win. So that consenting to it and that having knowledge helps people to be able to feel okay. And even when it gets toxic and gets very nasty, they can be able to come back and say, how do we recharge ourselves and how do we refresh ourselves so that we can be able to continue on with this particular process, and how eventually are we going to make sure that whatever has happened, the injuries that have happened along the way, that we are going to heal ourselves as a family.
All right, thank you so much for that, Prof. And now to you, Josephine. Other than let me talk over the family, as we put it, we have other activities. Let me talk over probably the travels. We remember during the campaign period, people were actually asking over a number of candidates. How come this person or a candidate A or B gets to travel throughout the country probably for long hours? What time do they have probably with their families? How would you say the long hours and the travels would affect now a candidate mentally?
Okay. The long hours and the travels, of course, will keep him away from the family. That will, of course, impact on him socially. He is alone. He is campaigning, and you see, as I had mentioned earlier, campaigning means giving yourself, and giving yourself not just socially but personally. You are vying for a position, so you also have to convince yourself. So also it impacts on himself financially, because away from, you see, travel requires money.
True.
Coming from one place to another, and as politics is public, you are meeting strangers. You see, you have to stand here and sell yourself and say, this is what I am offering to do for you, people of the public. So socially, financially, also psychologically, you know, you have to have a lot of You have to believe in yourself. You have to stand tall and talk to yourself in the morning and tell yourself, okay, I can do it. If you do not have someone to tell you you can do it in the morning, then it will be a bit tough. If you're far away from your family, if you're far away from friends, or you're far away from people you know, it's very tough because public will not automatically welcome you. You can get to go somewhere and you'll get heckled, or you can get bullied, or you can get chased away. So you have to have an affirmation. You have to set boundaries for yourself. Know that at the end of the day that you're a person. Even if you're going outside there to campaign, the bigger picture is that you're a person. This is a political time. You will go back to your family. You know, you want this for yourself, yes, but at the end of the day, what matters? Is it this politics, or is it my family, or is it my mental health? Yes. So basically prioritizing what matters. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the politicians as well as citizens could be knowing that probably they are being affected mentally, or they could not be on the know whether they are being affected or not. Now, before even the elections and the results of elections, we have the campaigning period as we talk about it. How would you say probably a politician would now get to realize that they are being affected? What would you say are some of the signs that they'll start showing just to know that they are not fit mentally?
Right. When one has gone through a grueling process of activities, because we are saying there are activities upon activities, you're not getting enough sleep, because there is so much to do and the time is measured when the elections are going to be held, and therefore you have to try and make sure that you do all that needs to be done. How do you know? The experience of the politician would be, I'm feeling fatigued, I am not able to sleep very well, I am getting very irritable, I am not able to socialize very well with my family members, because when I come back I don't have the energy for them. So there is what is happening at the social level, not wanting to connect because you at home, because you have connected so much out there, or even feeling like you have a headache. That is at the more physical level. There is what you feel, or even that fatigue, or even feeling like your head is lolling, all those kind of things. Then you realize I'm not okay. Or even at spiritual level, where you feel like I'm not able to play, I am feeling like there is no meaning and purpose of what I am doing, especially when you go and you realize there are so many obstacles that has been laid ahead of you. So spiritually, there is how you get affected, meaning that you're getting affected all rounded, whether it's behaviorally or spiritually or relationally, or even at the emotional level, you're feeling sad. Sometimes you feel very excited, super excited. So the way to know that you're getting affected is by tracking down yourself on all those components to see how you're faring, whether you're faring well or you're not faring well. What people see are the signs, what you experience are the symptoms. So there is what people will see and they'll say, Dad, you're not well. You seem to be pulling away from us. You seem not to be engaging with us. You seem to be, your skin seems to be becoming very dry, and you're not that kind of a person who has a dry skin, because it can come out physically, even in how we look. And therefore, it's important to pick feedback from other people, because they are seeing you, especially the ones that are very intimate or they are close to you, like family members. And it's important to listen to yourself to see how you're moving on.
And would you say the same probably is also experienced with the supporters as well?
Yeah. because they're working together, they are listening together with the candidate, and therefore, even for them, time is of essence. Eating, they are not able to eat and to allow the food to get into the stomach well. And so you're still moving, and therefore you're going to get the same burnout, you're going to get the same fatigue. Indeed, when you're talking about burnout, because one of the things or the conditions they suffer more is burnout, is that it is wear and tear. If they are wearing and tearing because this is a race where they do not have enough time and the resources are strained to the limit, and therefore you're always thinking, will I have the finances to be able to go to the very end of this particular race? So yeah, even the ones that are supporting in the process, they go through the same kind of draining situations, and therefore the impact will be on them just like the candidate.
Right. Now, Josephine, before we look at probably how do we now cope with all the signs that our prof has talked about, we are past, let me say, the elections period. And we have definitely those that won and we have those that lost. How would you say, now for those that lost, how would you say or how would you recommend that someone now deals with the loss?
Okay. Loss basically is not something that it's basically negative. So loss of election, since that's what is at hand, is in as much as it's said every day, is accepting. Accepting is easier said than done, but look at the bigger picture. What I mean by the bigger picture, when this person got into this race, vying this position, the cost, the implication, there's whatever they went through. So them knowing that they need to move on is know that there is, at even in school, the way there's got to be a number one, number two, until the last. So accepting and moving on. Secondly is reaching out. Reaching out means talking to friends, expressing how you feel. Normally we say that half, whatever you talk from within is half shared, half, when you talk about it, is half solved. So when you share what is within, it will be half solved. Keep away from social media. What I mean by that is when you limit yourself from social media, it will reduce the anxiety that comes with it, because there are so many people who are online who have different comments, negative, positive, people will comment in any manner and they will trigger all manner of emotions. And in this case, if somebody lost, they will feel even more triggered, and they might even end up having even worse and negative emotions. We found even people who might even go to the point of taking their own lives, which is quite sad. So keeping away from social media, taking a break. It is very difficult, but going into prayer, just taking time, going to prayer, talk to somebody who's not a human being, sit down, converse with God. He understands what no human can ever understand, you see. And basically also setting boundaries for yourself, knowing where you have come from, so appreciating yourself, knowing that before this I had a life. I am here, even if it is a loss in quotes. I am still here. I still have a future. I can still forge on. I have a lesson that I can teach and learn and impart on others. Yeah.
All right. Now, Prof, you being one of the councillors that under the President's Assumption of Office Committee, this shows that definitely the government understands that probably the politicking and the campaigning period it will not, at the end of it, end so well for some of the members. So me as a politician, probably I'm being affected mentally. Why would you say someone still gets into politics knowing that at the end of it probably I might win or I might not win, and there are still consequences in this as far as the conversation is concerned, now talking of now the mental part of it? Why would I still go into politics and I know that I'll still be affected probably mentally?
You know, you cannot avoid things that are part of life. And getting into politics, when you get into the race, you want to get a job. Mm-hmm. And therefore, they are looking for prospects, and no one can deny a person from taking advantage of the prospects that are there. When they are getting into the race, they are getting into it because you would want to serve the people. You have a calling of serving the people in that way. Just like you have a calling in serving the people in like journalism, is the same way. Mm-hmm. For the people who are persuaded that my way of serving the people is by being a politician and holding a political office and making sure that the needs of the people are met by me as a politicians, and we need them as citizenry. And therefore, they are seeing an opportunity, they would want to get into it, but the process of it is the one that is very risky. Once they get into the office, they are okay, they'll continue serving the people. Mm-hmm. But before you get there, you have to deal with the political process that sometimes can put you in a very risky situation. And therefore, if you want to become a politician, then you have to be ready to be very resilient. You have to be ready to continually work on yourself and have a support system that is going to walk the journey with you. Because that kind of a support system will keep on telling you it's okay, you are okay, the way you are addressing people is okay, you can change here and there, they give the feedback. And I think when politicians are elected eventually, they are happy, they are jubilant, they are excited, but we also need to look at the flip side of it. When you do not get that political office, then just like Josephine has said, mm-hmm. you're going to be sad, you're going to feel like you are a failure, you're going to feel embarrassed, you're going to feel ashamed. There are all kinds of emotions that you're going to have, and that is why politicians still require support, require counseling support. You have said, does that mean that the government acknowledges that counseling is important? Mm-hmm. Yes, the government acknowledges that this is a very rigorous process that a politician goes through, and therefore would want to put measures and would want to put programming that is going to shield a Kenyan citizenry from getting damaged and destroyed completely. You realize when you look at the World Health Organization statistics, mm-hmm. 2013 and 2017, we had the highest preference of suicide. Meaning that political events, they push people to the edge to a point they consider committing suicide. That can be a citizenry who is feeling my candidate did not win, mm-hmm. and therefore I have no hope anymore, and decides to commit suicide. So even the mwananchi out there gets affected, the one who is watching. The one who is not even participating, is not in the campaign trail, but is watching, and their hopes are dimmed because as you go to elect, you are hopeful that your person is going to be elected. If your person is not going to be elected, mm-hmm. then what happens to you? So government needs to take care of its own people through counseling, because when you're talked to, then you are reassured, then you have hope, then you know it is not the end of life. I still can have a continuity and even vie again, or even vote again, or even support a person again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, you've spoken so well in terms of, let me say, the responsibilities that comes with now you being elected as a leader. And to you, Josephine, I've been elected as a leader, especially for the first timers. We have a number of people who have been elected in, even as governors, senators, MCAs, and all the seats that were being vied for as first timers. You might get into office probably with the excitement, with the lots of responsibilities. Will this still affect someone mentally, and how does this person now adjust to these new roles that have come with in the office that they've just been chosen in?
Yes. Yes, to answer your question, it would affect someone mentally because this is a new role. This feels like it's they have a lot on their plate. There's a lot of people looking up to them. They'll feel anxious. Anxiety comes because they'll feel they went to the field, they got the votes. Now they ask themselves, okay, can I deliver? Yes, I can deliver. There will be critics. Basically, in every stage of life, it's not a smooth sail. There will be challenges, there will be critics. Also, since they are a new person, there's also the old office. In the old office, there were challenges, there was backlog, whatever was left there before. Also, the new workers, there's a new environment, you're meeting new people, meaning the socialization, you're meeting new people, how will you socialize, will you fit in? Also, you say in terms of religion, if you're Islam or you are Christian, also religious views, you should not also make my clash, or, will you adapt wholly as a person? Also, being a politician requires you to be a leader. What does it mean to be a leader? Being a leader does not mean you be a controller, it means you be an example, this humility, do you have the leadership skills, it starts with yourself. So basically, as a new person in office, you need to self-evaluate. Do you have that self-awareness as a person? Do you have the leadership skills? Are you that honest with yourself, to take up this mantle? Do you have people to mentor you? Are you ready to be mentored? Are you ready to be criticized? Are you ready to take up the challenges? Do you know when there's failure, how are you going to take up the challenges? How are you going to adapt to change? Because change has to come in every organization. Yes.
Now, to you, Prof, just on the same, what would you say, probably just by naming, are some of the things that these leaders can do very quick in terms of adjusting now to the new roles?
Number one, they need to go back to family and see how they are going to move forward and what kind of different support is going to be required from family. They also need to think through, just like Josephine has said, I am assuming a new position. Maybe I was there before, or I'm there for the first time. What are the new realities that I need to contend with? And do I have the skills that are required? Or are there skills that I need now to look for through training so that I can be able to deliver and deliver ably to the people of Kenya who have chosen me in that particular office, whether it's governor or MCA or any other position. The other thing to do is to talk to the campaign teams. I hope they have done that so that they can also thank them. And for the ones that were injured along the way, that they can seek professional help for them so that everyone is going to be taken care of and you're not abandoning people when they are still hurting and they are still being injured. The other thing is now to be conversant with one's role so that you can be able to deliver and deliver ably. I also want to say, for a politician who has been given an office, it's important for you to have a counselor, whether it's a family counselor or it's a counselor for yourself who walks the journey with you, or a psychologist who walks the journey with you, so that when you go through the difficult moments, then you can be able to talk through. You can use the psychologist as a sounding board to help you to be able to go through the difficult hurdles of your own life as a politician.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much. So we'll take a very short break. Remember, we are looking at politics and mental wellness. That was Josephine as well as Professor Catherine just sharing with us their thoughts or opinions as far as mental health and politics is concerned. Remember, you can send in your comments as well as questions via our SMS number. That is 0111 22 0044. Let's take a very short break. We'll be right back. So, Prof, to you, during the break we were just discussing of now this special group of children as well as now the family unit as far as a marriage is concerned. How would you say children are affected mentally with politics, both for those candidates who won as well as those children to those candidates that did not win?
Right. You know, children are in the family and they follow through with the views of the parents, even the candidates that the parents are electing. That means that if a candidate is not going to go through, a child is going to be equally sad. A child is going to be going through grief, is going to be going through turmoil of stress because a candidate has lost that the parents were supporting and even they voted for. And therefore, children have to be brought on board in being helped to process that information, to see that failing or even not getting it is part of life, so that they can start learning some of the things that are very vital in life, that when you go through experiences and those experiences, they don't favor you, then you have to get a way of processing those experiences so that you can be at peace with them. If, like for example, the candidate that the parents were supporting went through, then the parents are very happy, they're very excited. But then the children need to be taught, how do you regulate your happiness? How do you regulate your being jubilant so that you're not also affecting the people who lost? Because we need moderation and we need to take care of each other. For children, it's a learning process to coexist with other people and also to know how to handle experiences of failure and experiences of achievement and success in their own lives. So you can take that as a learning process for the children. When it comes now to a marriage relationship and you have different views, then you need now to synchronize and say politics come and go, and we do not want our marriage to be hurt and blistered by something that comes and goes. We would need now to tell each other, let's make peace. Let's see how we are going to be handling our different views even into the future, or our common views even into the future, so that we can be more solidified but not more separated and disunited and conflicted by experiences that come into our lives.
Okay, and thank you for that. To you, Josephine, now in terms of, let me say, the society and the communities, for those candidates that probably did not make it to clinch the seats that they were vying for, how would you say the society can help take care of these members?
Okay. The society members, they're the voters, right? They're the ones who go and listen to these people when they're going to campaign, meaning they're the ones who need to encourage them. That is positive talk. They need to be there for them. What I mean is physically, that is have positive talk. So as for the people in the society, they need to be encourage. You see, this person who has lost this election needs to be welcomed back into the society like a hero. What I mean is they came into this and they said whatever they said. They wanted to vie for this position, and they lost. They have to still be accepted and say, you made an effort. You know, even if you did not win, we accepted that you made an effort. We accept that you made a change. You encourage the youth. If it's a youth who was vying for a higher seat, you have encouraged a lady or a man or say a persons with disability, because persons with disabilities are also included. You have encouraged somebody in society to actually come up and vie. So the society needs to embrace these people back and say it is okay. Normally in counseling or in therapy, we say it is okay not to be okay. When we accept that we are not okay, that is the first step to healing. So healing comes by accepting that we are wounded. Just the same way when we go to war. In war, we either win or lose. So we come wounded. So with those wounds, we come and clean those wounds. We nurse those wounds. We say, okay, we learned this from the war. Now the war in this case is the politics. There's the financial impact. What did I learn? There's a social. I made friends. There's the emotional bit. We cried. We laughed. There's also the connections I made. It is very possible that after that, one might get a job, even if not as a politician. You might even get another career that is not even being in the political scene, because you are seen in that politicking or in the campaign period. Yes.
Thank you for that. And now we have a number of questions here. I think I'll ask you one. That is as far as the signs are concerned. Someone is asking, a lot of politicians gain weight during the campaigns. Is this a sign of stress and pressure?
It is a sign of stress and pressure. Why I say that is because gaining weight, losing weight, you know, an over or under sleeping, losing weight, and overly doing something is usually a stress response. You're responding to stress. Normally at optimal or a normal level, then you're supposed to be sleeping right. You see, as Prof said earlier, one lacks sleep because you're overworking. The campaign is tedious. You are supposed to be, basically because you're outside there, there's minimal time to eat or to sleep. The campaign team also needs you. Everybody needs you. So at the end of the day, you will either lose weight a lot or gain weight a lot. So it is a stress response. Yes.
Okay, now to you, Prof. Now I think on the same top issue that we are discussing as far as marriage and relationship are concerned, if one's partner does not want them to join the political scene, how should that conflict be handled? Just on the same, why do wives blame their husbands after losing instead of supporting?
When a partner does not want a spouse to join the campaign or to vie for a particular position, then onus is on the person who wants to vie to try and see ways in which he or she can convince the partner about I need this because of these particular reasons, and also be cognizant. Saying no would be a sign of I fear, I am not very sure whether this is not going to plunge us into situations where we are going to be affected in ways we will never recover again. So listening to the partner is important. A lot of conversations, a lot of listening to each other, probably by listening and by also acknowledging that refusal would mean maybe even care for family, that family is not going to be plunged in particular situations is very important. So I think that kind of a conversation is important for families. However, we have seen situations where those conversations are not held. And in the absence of those conversations that are healthy, then people feel defranchised and people feel not considered and not brought in. So family members should make sure that whatever is affecting them is going to be talked about so that they can be able to refresh themselves again and they can be able to rejuvenate themselves again. In situations where maybe they have gone through the process and someone has not won, again, this is a conversation that needs to be held, because whether the win or whether the loss is something that is an experience for the family that needs to be clearly understood, and family members need to know that we can overcome. There is nothing that is so difficult for us. All that we need to do is to be open to that particular experience. Eventually we'll be able to handle it.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, for our parting shots, my question will be now to this, let me say, politician who has won or lost. We have the mheshimiwa attitude. How do you now convince this mheshimiwa or this politician to come to you or to go for counseling? How do you convince them, even as you give your parting shot, Josephine?
Okay. This mheshimiwa needs to know that they are a person, that they need to know that at the end of the day they cannot do it without help of another, because we work in systems. We work in systems, that is, we are social beings. Social beings meaning we live in a community, in a society, and we need to coexist together. So we need to be there to help each other. So this mheshimiwa needs to understand that their mental health is very important. The way they think, the way they behave, the way they, the way they act needs to be sharpened. You see, like now a pencil, when it writes, it needs to be sharpened for it to be sharp, for it to continue writing. It's the same thing. That's why even in organizations there needs to be reviews. So it's the same thing with this mheshimiwa. This mheshimiwa is a leader. So a leader needs to be reminded or needs to be supported and needs to be told who he is, needs to be, basically have a support system. So a therapist is there to be, help with the coping mechanisms. There to also the mind. Basically, what you feed the mind, it matters a lot. Also, my parting shot is there is no health without mental health. Basically, prioritize yourself. If today you feel you cannot do it, you leave everything and prioritize yourself. Breathe, relax, say a prayer, take that walk, and know at the end of the day, you matter. Yes.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Now to you, Prof, I'd like you to speak not necessarily to the leaders, but to that supporters, to that common mwananchi who is feeling so low that that person that I was supporting did not make it, and to the leaders who are elected and those that won. What role do you think they can play to now reconcile the country, and even to those that did not win?
Right. We are dealing with very different scenarios in this country. The scenarios of those that won, the scenarios of those that didn't win. The scenarios that for communities that feel they lost because they were supporting particular candidates or particular candidature at the highest level, at the presidency level, and that person lost. And we are having scenarios where people are very sick, high blood pressure, getting diabetes, having asthmatic attacks because of the loss. We want to say that God has good plans for you. Plans for good and not for evil. And plans to give you a future. And what we need to do as a country is to know whether our candidates lost or they won, that we need to rebuild a country where all of us are going to benefit from the current government. And for the ones that are still feeling, I'm sick, I cannot wake up from the bed, I've been dreaming at night, just know that you need help. And also within our families, can we support the people who are seeming like they have been affected much more? Our churches, our workplaces need to take it upon themselves so that we can see how we help people to be able to accept what has happened and to be able to heal, so that all of us solidly and unified, we can be able to move together into the future, a people who are refreshed and a people who have been rejuvenated and a people who have hope that we are going to have better days ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Josephine and Professor Catherine. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing and educating as well as informing our audience. Well, that was Professor Catherine Gachuda as well as Josephine Rope, who are counseling psychologists, just sharing their comments or opinions and views as far as politics and mental wellness is concerned.